It started with a knock on the door, a new neighbor, a quiet smile, and a warning she didn't recognize for what it was. By the time she read the first message, it was already too late. Welcome to Flame Fate Chronicles, where love is never simple and the past never stays buried. Tonight's story follows Jessa Quinn, a single mother trying to protect her son and start over. But when she opens her heart to the man living next door, she also opens the door to a deadly secret. Because sometimes, the greatest danger isn't the man outside your window. It's the one you used to love. This is Whispers Next Door, a love worth hiding. I didn't believe in fresh starts. Not anymore. Not after Derek disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a mortgage, a scared 9-year-old, and a lifetime of promises turned to ash. That was 3 years ago. Since then, it's just been me and Landon, and honestly, we were doing okay. Our new apartment building might smell like old carpet and lost dreams, but the neighbors kept to themselves and the rent was on autopay. I wasn't complaining. Then he moved in. Unit 3B had been empty for months. Some whispered about the last tenant, old man Wilkins, who died with no one to claim him. Others said the apartment was cursed. I didn't believe in curses either. Not until I met Kaylin Ward. It was a Sunday when the U-Haul pulled up, the July heat dancing off the pavement like invisible fire. I was dragging Landon home from the pool when I saw him, mid-30s, tall, lean but strong. He wore a plain gray tee, jeans, and a quiet kind of caution that didn't match his warm smile. "Need a hand?" I offered, still catching my breath from wrestling Landon out of chlorine and into clothes. He looked at me, really looked at me, like he was scanning for lies. Then he nodded slowly. "I'm Kaylin." "Jessa," I replied, shifting the grocery bag on my hip. "That's my son Landon. We're your next-door neighbors." Landon gave a half-hearted wave. He was 12 and growing more skeptical by the hour. Kaylin didn't ask personal questions, didn't offer much either, but over the next week I noticed things. How he always scanned the hallway before locking up, how he sat on his balcony but never used a phone, how he winced when a car backfired like he'd heard a gunshot instead. I told myself it wasn't my business. But on the 5th night, I found a small bouquet outside our door. Wildflowers, a little crushed, wrapped in paper with no note. I figured maybe it was from Kaylin. When I knocked on his door and asked, he shook his head with such quiet certainty it made me nervous. "No," he said. "That wasn't me. That night I locked all our windows. I wasn't the type to jump at shadows. But after the flowers, I checked the locks twice." Landon didn't seem fazed. He was in that middle place, not quite a kid, not yet a teen. He cared more about his online game rank than mystery bouquets. I envied him for that. But me, I was starting to notice things I couldn't explain. Like the dark blue SUV with tinted windows parked across the street. It never stayed long, just long enough to make my spine itch. Or the flicker I saw in the corner of my eye when I walked down the hallway after work. A shadow that disappeared before I could turn my head. One evening, Kaylin caught me fumbling with my keys outside my door. He was coming up the stairs with a paper bag in hand, Chinese takeout. I smiled politely, just being neighborly. "You okay?" he asked, voice low but steady. Yeah, just tired." He paused, his gaze drifting to the hallway behind me, like he heard something I didn't. His whole posture changed, alert, protective. Then he looked at me again. "Do you mind if I walk you in?" I hesitated. "I'm fine, really." "Please." The way he said it, I knew better than to argue. I let him follow me inside, and I watched his eyes sweep across the living room like a soldier checking for traps. He even peeked behind the curtains. When he was satisfied, he handed me the takeout. "I got extra. You and Landon eat yet?" That was how it started. Dinner became a habit. Not every night, just enough to notice when it didn't happen. Landon warmed up to him faster than I expected. They talked about video games and martial arts. One night, Kaylin showed him how to block a punch using a folded towel. Landon called it apartment safe training. I laughed, but deep down I felt the warmth blooming in my chest, like a dangerous thing. Until that Friday night. I was brushing my teeth when my phone buzzed on the sink. Unknown number. I wiped my hands and opened the message. Nice dress today. Blue suits you. I froze. I had worn blue to work, a simple shift dress, nothing special. But I hadn't posted anything online. I hadn't seen anyone outside except for a quick run to the store and my elevator ride home. The next message came seconds later. You smile different when you think no one's watching. My heart dropped to my feet. I turned, every mirror now feeling like an open eye. And then 3 soft knocks on the balcony door. I rushed out to the living room, but there was no one there. Just Kalen, standing on his own balcony next door, his body half in shadow, watching the street below like a man waiting for ghosts. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant bark of a dog outside, jolted me upright. I sat in the living room with a kitchen knife beside me, and Landon's baby monitor, something I hadn't used in years, balanced on the coffee table. I needed to hear him breathe. In the morning, I told myself it was a prank, a sick, random thing, the kind of message some stranger might send for a quick thrill. But in my gut, I knew better. When Landon left for school, Kalen was already on his balcony. He offered a tight smile but didn't say much. Before he went back inside, he said something that lingered all day. You should start locking your balcony door at night. Some people climb more than stairs. Later that afternoon, as I walked to my car in the building's lot, I noticed it again. The SUV. Same spot, same angle. But this time the engine was running. A figure sat in the driver's seat, face obscured by dark sunglasses and a baseball cap. I took out my phone and lifted it, pretending to take a selfie, but angling the shot to catch the car. The SUV peeled away the moment I did. I didn't call the police. Not yet. Not without more. But I did something else. That evening, I knocked on Kalen's door. I didn't have dinner. I didn't even have an excuse. I think I'm being followed, I blurted, the moment he opened the door. He didn't ask me if I was sure. He just opened the door wider. Come in. Inside his apartment was neat. Too neat. Almost sterile. No personal photos, no clutter, no signs of a life lived. He poured me tea like he had done it 1,000 times before, then sat across from me on the edge of the couch, eyes steady. Describe the car. I did, down to the dent above the rear wheel and the sound it made when it idled. Kalen's jaw clenched. I've seen it too. I told him about the texts, the flowers, the feeling. He didn't flinch. Instead, he stood and disappeared into his bedroom for a minute. When he returned, he held a small manila envelope. He set it on the coffee table. It was unmarked. He opened it. Inside were photographs. Surveillance-style photos, grainy but clear of him, talking to me, walking with Landon, sitting on his balcony, a zoomed-in shot of his front door, another one of his face while he slept. Someone slipped this under my door last night, he said flatly. I stared, my stomach flipping. Who would? I don't know yet, Kalen replied, but I know what this means. I looked at him. What does it mean? His voice dropped to something almost too low to hear. It means I wasn't careful enough. The truth? I wasn't sure what scared me more, the fact that someone was stalking me, or the fact that Kalen wasn't surprised. For 2 days, we said nothing more about the photos. We went back to shallow smiles and casual waves. But underneath it, I could feel it brewing, a storm building in both of us. The next time I knocked on his door, I didn't wait for an invitation. I want answers, I said. Kalen's eyes narrowed slightly. He opened the door. Inside, I dropped my bag onto the floor and crossed my arms. You know more than you're telling me. This isn't just some random creep. You said you weren't careful enough. What does that mean? He hesitated. His hand flexed at his side like it wanted to reach for something. I've made enemies, he said finally. Bad ones. From what? I asked. Who are you, Kalen? Silence. Then, I used to be someone else, somewhere else. I worked for a federal task force. Deep cover. I did things I'm not proud of, Jessa. I burned bridges. I put people away. I swallowed. So now they're trying to find you? They already did, he said. You're in this because of me. No, my voice cracked. I've been in this before you. Callan blinked. What do you mean? I took a breath, letting the words pour out like venom. My ex-husband, Derek. He disappeared 3 years ago. One day he packed a bag, said he needed air, and never came back. No calls, no notes, nothing. I thought he was dead, until a friend spotted someone who looked like him in Tennessee, using a fake name. The police didn't care. They said if he left voluntarily, there was nothing they could do. Callan listened, unreadable. Then the text started. Around the same time you moved in. The same SUV, the flowers, the messages. It's him, isn't it? I don't know, Callan said. But if it is your ex, he's not just angry, he's dangerous. The kind who doesn't want you dead, he wants you scared, wants control. He paused, then stepped closer. His voice softened. I can help you, but you need to trust me. I wasn't sure I did, but the next night, I had no choice. It happened at 2:17 a.m. A loud crack shattered the silence. I shot up in bed. Landon screamed from his room. I raced down the hall just as a rock flew through the living room window, spraying glass across the couch and floor. Something was tied to it with wire. I crouched, hands trembling, and read the scrawled words on a scrap of paper. Whore. Traitor. I see you. I called Callan before the police. He arrived in under 3 minutes, barefoot and holding a crowbar. By the time the cops showed up, the damage was done and the rock was gone. No fingerprints, no footage, no leads, just a mess of glass and my son shaking in his blanket. After the break-in, things changed. Landon stopped sleeping in his room. I pulled the mattress into mine and kept the lights on, pretending it was a fun sleepover week, but he wasn't fooled. He was 12, old enough to know what fear looked like on his mother's face. I bought cameras, door sensors, motion lights. I even got pepper spray for Landon's backpack. My hand trembled as I tested the alarm system, listening for that loud beep that gave me false hope we were safe. But none of it mattered. 2 days later, I came out to find my car door wide open. No glass broken, no alarm triggered. Everything was still inside. Except for the photo of Landon and me I kept in the glove compartment, the one from his kindergarten graduation. He had missing teeth. I had missing sleep, gone. In its place was a sheet of notebook paper folded once. Inside, scribbled in crude block letters. He looks just like me. I dropped it like it burned. That night, I met Callan on his balcony. He looked like he hadn't slept either. There was a tension in his jaw, in the way he gripped the railing like he wanted to rip it off the wall. I need to tell you the rest, he said, not looking at me. All of it. So I listened. Callan, real name Nico Carver, had worked deep undercover in a sting operation involving a trafficking ring that stretched from Vegas to New York. His cover was blown after a rogue cop, Bryce Galloway, sold him out for cash. Nico barely survived the fallout. He testified. People went to prison. But Bryce disappeared. So did the others. He was relocated under witness protection, a new name, a new life, until someone found him. I thought I left it all behind, he said, his voice frayed. But now I think they found me. And maybe they found you too, by accident. Or maybe... Not by accident, I said. Derek's involved, he has to be. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then Nico's phone vibrated. He didn't usually get calls. He had no social media, no apps, just encrypted texting for emergencies. The screen read, You should have stayed gone. Now they both pay. He showed it to me. We both knew what they meant. Me and Landon. The next morning, Landon found a note in his school lunchbox. It wasn't in my handwriting. It read, "Just like your dad. Lying runs in the blood." I thought I knew fear. I thought it was hearing Derek's name whispered in a police station, or seeing Landon come home with a scraped knee and no explanation, or waking up alone, again and again, wondering if I had done something to make a man stop loving me. But nothing compared to reading that note in my son's lunchbox. I called the school immediately. Security cameras caught nothing. Landon hadn't let the bag out of his sight, or so he thought. But someone got close enough. Again. That night, I didn't cry. I went cold. I pulled every bookcase and piece of furniture in front of the doors. I taped over the peephole. I told Landon we were playing fort. He nodded like he believed me or wanted to. Nico stayed over. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even safe. But it felt less dangerous than being alone. He slept on the couch, a duffel bag under his head, and something heavy, something metal inside. Around midnight, I heard a noise on the balcony, a low scrape. Nico was up before I was. He moved fast, silently pressing his back to the wall, crowbar in hand. I held Landon in the hallway and watched from the crack in the door as Nico stepped out. Nothing. Just a scorched rag and shattered glass. A Molotov cocktail, poorly made, had ignited the railing. Someone wanted to send a message, not kill yet. Nico put it out fast. No fire trucks, no police, no more warnings. The next day, he started packing. "Wait," I said, panicked. "You're leaving?" "No," he said. "We are. We can't just run." Nico turned, his face pale with fury and fear. "We have to. This is no longer about watching. This is escalating. You don't understand the people who are behind this." "Then make me understand," I shouted. "Tell me what you're not saying." That's when he finally gave it to me, the last missing piece. Bryce Galloway hadn't just sold him out. He had teamed up with Derek. Apparently, Derek hadn't just run away because of a failed marriage. He was involved, unknowingly or not, in laundering money for the same trafficking operation Nico helped expose. When the ring collapsed, Derek faked his death and ran. Bryce had disappeared too, but not into obscurity, into the shadows, into revenge. And now, they were back, working together, hunting down the man who ruined their empire, Nico. But now they weren't just punishing him, they were targeting me, because Derek believed I'd replaced him. And Landon? He was proof I'd moved on. They didn't want money or justice. They wanted to destroy us. I sat in the middle of the living room, stunned. "We're not just being stalked," I whispered. "We're being hunted." "Yes," Nico said quietly. "And I think they're almost done watching." I didn't speak for a long time. After Nico told me everything, after he laid the truth out like a bomb with the pin pulled, I sat there on the edge of my bed, staring at the carpet like it might give me answers. My ex-husband wasn't just a narcissist, he was a criminal. He was working with a rogue cop to ruin the man who'd unknowingly moved in next door. How could I have been so blind? "How long?" I finally asked. "How long have you known it was Derek?" Nico's jaw clenched. I didn't know for sure until the note in Landon's lunchbox. The handwriting, it matched a report I read years ago. He used to write in all caps, like he was screaming. I covered my mouth, willing myself not to scream too. "I need you to understand something," he said. "I never meant to pull you into this. I moved here because it was off-grid, safe. After the last hit, I didn't think they'd track me again. I didn't know you were part of his past." "You lied about everything," I whispered. "I changed my name. I protected my history. I didn't lie about you." Tears stung my eyes. "And what are we now? Just collateral damage?" "No," he said, stepping closer. "You're the reason I'm still standing. You and Landon. You made me remember why I ever fought in the first place. I wanted to believe him, but the problem with betrayal is that it echoes. Derek betrayed me. Now Nico had hidden the one truth that could have saved us sooner, and yet I still felt safer near him than I ever had before. The choice was made for me the next day. Landon didn't come home after school. The front desk clerk said a family friend had signed him out early, a man matching Derek's old description. Brown hair, scruffy beard, dark hoodie, confident. The school believed him because his name was still listed on the emergency contact form. I'd never changed it. Some part of me must have thought he'd show up again someday, and now he had. I collapsed in the hallway, screaming, shaking. Nico pulled me up. "We'll get him back," he said. "How do you know?" "Because I know how Derek thinks now, and I know where he'll go." He pulled out an old flip phone from the duffel bag, dialed a number I didn't recognize. His voice was calm, clipped, professional. "This is Shadow 7. I'm activating Protocol Ghost. 1 trace, 1 tag, 1 recovery." He hung up and looked at me. "Derek doesn't want to kill Landon. Not yet. He wants a show, a message, and I know just the place he'd want to send it." An hour later, Nico showed me a video, sent from an untraceable number. Derek's face filled the screen, wild eyes, mouth twitching. Beside him, Landon sat in a chair, duct tape over his mouth, but otherwise unharmed. "We're going to be a family again," Derek said, "or no one will." We didn't call the police. There wasn't time. There wasn't trust. Nico's contact came through fast. An encrypted location ping. A warehouse outside the city abandoned, half-burned, condemned years ago. I remembered it from the news, a place where things were hidden, and sometimes never found. That's where Derek had taken our son. I didn't think, I just moved. My hands trembled as I loaded the only weapon I'd ever held, a compact revolver Nico gave me, cold in my palm. We rode in silence. Nico's jaw was set, his eyes scanning every car, every corner. I could feel the tension in his body like a wire stretched to the snapping point. "What if we're too late?" I asked. "We're not." "You don't know that?" He glanced over, voice quiet but certain. "Because if we were, he wouldn't have sent the video. He wants us there. This is his performance." We pulled up half a block from the warehouse. Rust stained the metal siding. Glass crunched beneath our feet as we approached the side entrance. The only sound was the distant buzz of power lines and the ocean of blood rushing through my ears. Inside it was dark. Dust swirled in the filtered light. And then we heard it. Landon. A muffled cry. We found him tied to a chair in the center of the main floor, tape over his mouth, wrists bound. His eyes widened as we stepped into the light. "Then drop it!" Derek's voice, sharp and cold, echoed from the catwalk above. He stepped out of the shadows with a pistol aimed directly at Nico. I froze. "Put the gun down," Derek said, eyes locked on me. "Both of you, or he dies." I turned slowly, my revolver raised, but Nico didn't move. He stared up at Derek like a man already doing the math on how this would end. "You're outnumbered," Nico said. "And you're out of time." Derek laughed, brittle and manic. "That's rich. From the guy who destroyed everything. You took my life, my family, my business." "You chose that life," Nico said. "I ended it." Derek turned the gun toward Landon. "No!" I screamed, stepping forward. Bang! The sound tore through the air. Nico grunted and dropped to his knees, blood blooming from his shoulder. "Next one's for the kid," Derek sneered. "You really think you get to replace me?" I moved without thinking. Rage and fear blurred into instinct. I dove for the chair, grabbed the metal pipe Nico had dropped and hurled it. It struck Derek in the thigh with a sickening crack. He screamed, fired again, missed. Nico surged up despite the bleeding and tackled him from the stairs.
They crashed onto the floor in a tangle of limbs and fury.
I rushed to Landon, ripped the tape from his mouth, untied his hands. He sobbed into my shoulder, trembling. When I turned, Nico was on top of Derek, pinning him down with his good arm.
"I should kill you,"
he said, voice low. Derek smiled through bloody teeth. "Do it. Make her watch." Nico stood and walked away. "I don't need to kill you," he said. "Prison will." The police arrived within minutes. Nico's contact had sent a tip during the drive. Everything was documented, recorded, traced. Derek was arrested. Landon's tearful embrace nearly crushed my ribs, and Nico passed out in my lap from blood loss. It took 3 surgeries to repair the damage in Nico's shoulder. The doctor said he was lucky the bullet missed the artery by inches, but I knew better. Luck had nothing to do with it. That man survived because he was wired to protect, no matter the cost. I stayed by his side every day in the hospital. So did Landon. He barely left the room, clinging to Nico's good hand like it was an anchor in the storm. For a while, it felt like we were in a waiting room between 2 lives, the one where we were hunted and the one we hadn't yet built. Derek was denied bail, multiple charges, weapons possession, child endangerment, fraud, racketeering. The list was long. His time would be longer. He didn't look at me during the trial, but I looked at him. And in that moment, I didn't see the man who once shared my bed or the father of my child. I saw a monster who lost. 3 months later, we moved. No more apartment hallways, no more balcony warnings, no more peeking through peepholes hoping today wouldn't end in fear. We chose a quiet town by a lake. Landon started at a new school. He made friends faster than I expected. Sometimes I caught him sitting by the window at night watching the stars. I asked what he was thinking. He said, "I just like knowing no one's watching us anymore." And that broke me and healed me at the same time. As for Nico, he changed his name again. Officially this time. No more aliases, no more codes. He chose to be Nico Ward, a man with nothing left to hide. We didn't rush anything, but we didn't waste time either. After everything we'd been through, there was no room for hesitation. One evening, after dinner, he pulled something from his pocket and slid it across the table. A small box. Inside was a ring, simple, gold, warm from his palm. "No more secrets," he said softly. "Just us." I didn't cry. I just nodded. Yes. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive in fairy tales. Sometimes it walks through the door next to yours, bleeding, broken, and brave enough to stay. Thank you for joining us on Flame Fate Chronicles, where love rises from the ashes and the past can't outrun the truth. If tonight's story kept you on edge, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more twisted tales of love, danger, and redemption. Until next time, follow your fate